if you're just being honest
Yeah.
and you're just being who you are, you're not a type. You know, and then that's why I hated about, like, I mean, I used to kind of hate the blue collar label because people would be like, you know, automatically, oh, like Larry the Cable Guy. Like, I hated when people yell fucking "get her done" at me. I'm like,
you used to do that?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I'm like, okay, yeah, we both wear a hat and we're kind of fat, all right, but that's where the similarities.
Yeah, you're nothing.
He's
like
different
that.
from me. You know, and it's like and it's like that's why with Chelsea lately, it's just, you know, when you start putting together a body of work that have so many different audiences that would look at it. People who watch Chelsea lately probably aren't going to watch blue collar comedy. Right. So it's like, I'm proud that all the people from those different sects can like what I do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I remember when I first met you, like, because they offered me these weeks, and I'm like, well, what's the first week? I just want to get some work. Yeah. Like this guy Caparulo, little blue collar. They kind of paired you like that, and I was like, how's this going to go? And I met you. He's like, he's nothing like that at all. The guy's cool as fuck. Right. He's from Ohio too. That's great.
Yeah.
I was it's insane.
My friend Freddie Lockhart said that once. He's like, I couldn't believe that when they started labeling you.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, he listens to fucking Ice Cube and Tupac.
Right.
You know, and and the thing is I mean, I didn't realize. I mean, it sounds like a joke. I'd say it on stage sometimes. Like, I didn't realize I was white trash till I moved to L.A., but I really didn't. Like, I always thought, when I was first getting into comedy, I moved to L.A., that I would be like, you know, like, there's a few of those guys, like those white comics who generally, like, they get on Def Jam or I just figured I'd be one of those dudes, because, you know, it went back home, it was like, you know, black dudes thought I was funny. It was like, ha ha, you crazy. You know, and it was like, that I thought I was that, but I didn't realize, as, you know, I mean, because you grow with your comedy. I mean, I started doing this when I was 21. I'm a much different person, you know, now, but it's like, you just, you know, you start to realize who you are, and then what people see when they look at you, and the way to play off that, like, where it's like, okay, I realize people just see, you know, kind of, you know, maybe a cracker, I don't know, you know, like some just kind of kid for, you know, Midwestern kid, and it's like, you know, so it's like I had to realize what they saw, and then, you know, okay, from what you see, how I'm able to communicate what I really am, you know, based on, but I still have to, you know, address what you see first. So, yeah, that's, you know, it's an ongoing process. It's growth. It's
because you want to show them those other sides of you too.
Of course, like you know, you want to say, it's like, yeah, I'm a guy who I love fishing. I love muscle cars. You know, I am a fucking in a lot of ways what somebody might consider a redneck or a fucking, you know, white trash. But I also, like I said, I grew up on rap music. You know, and you know, my idols were all, you know, Michael Jordan and the Browns, you know, so it's like I had mostly, you know, Eddie Murphy was my first comedy idol, you know, like most of my role models growing up were black, so it's like I'm not, you know, it's like nobody's just exactly what you see.
Yeah, when I first started, I was a big Chris Rock fan, and I actually sounded like Rock a lot because I watched him so much, and I was like, I got to change that because my cadence, it was funny.
Well, I mean, and I think that's inevitable for anybody. I think if you really like a you know, I didn't realize, because I grew up, I listened to a lot of comedy albums and watched a lot of those specials when I was younger, and then by the time I hit like 16, 17, I almost stopped watching comedy because I was almost like jealous that other people were doing it and I was still too afraid to do it.
So you wanted to do it when you were a teenager?
Yeah, pretty much when I realized sports wasn't going to happen.
Did you play ball?
No, I mean, like, I sat the bench up till 8th grade, and then you know, it was like, you know,
he was picked last in dodgeball. Let's get honest here.
Are you still here?
Yeah, that dude's got jokes.
Yeah, no, I was picked. I was the guy on the playground that, like, you know, because I used to play a lot of pickup basketball, and I mean, I'd always have big friends, like my friend Timmy, who's my best friend in the world, and my friend Mark, who was my best friend at Kent State. These were guys who were like 6'4", 6'5", great athletes, and you know, like Mark was, you know, like he was an Olympian. He was a runner in the Barcelona Olympics for Canada, and it was like, I mean, I'd show up at the playground with these guys, and we'd get out of the hoopty, and it was like, I mean, literally, like, they would be like, "Oh, Mark, we got next game. You running with us?" And you know, and Mark would be like, "You got room for 2?" And they'd look at me like, "Oh, fuck." They're almost like, "Is Mark worth having that guy on our team too?" You know, so it was like, you know, and that's the thing. It's like you know, for sports, that's what comedy became for me, was sports, because it was like sports. I was always like, I knew I was competitive enough to survive and to surpass my physical limitations, but you can only surpass physical limitations so much. And that's the thing, which like you know, with comedy, it was like, oh, I had the tools to go with, you know, the competitiveness.
You still ball?
No, that's the thing. That's how I got fat.
Oh, really?
You know, seriously, because I was, you know, like I used to play ball all the time to kind of satisfy that urge to like compete and get better at something, and you know, like and it didn't happen overnight, but it was one of those things where I felt less and less of a need to go play sports, because it was like my competitive needs and that urge to, you know, work at something was satisfied by comedy. It's just comedy don't burn no calories. So,
I still ball now just because it keeps my mind off of this game sometimes. Because, you know, you get stressed out by comedy.
You know, that's the thing. I wish I'm like at that. I mean, I'm 35 now. Like, you know, like I can't. You know, it's like there's a playground around the corner, but I'm not going to go sit. I'm not going to go climb a fence and call next. Hey, kids, I'm here to ball too. I got 2 knee braces and some goggles.
In the house, y'all.
Like, I'm not going to do that. So it's like, I mean, like I don't have like, even like going to like the 24-hour fitness or something. Like, I'm just like, it's, you know, I mean, like I haven't played in so long. I'm going to be slow, and then fucking, you know, and then I'm going to turn an ankle and not be able to perform. So it's
fun. What about you? Do Pilates?
I've done it twice now.
You gonna try and get him in Pilates?
Oh no, fuck no.
Yeah, she can give that a shot. So she can try her best.
So you both graduated from Kent,
right?
And then you both. That's funny. Both Ohio people.
Yeah.
And then,
all 3 of us are.
Yeah, all come from. Now you're from East Liverpool.
I'm from East Liverpool, Ohio.
Where are you from?
I'm from Marietta, southeast.
Okay, so you guys never went to Cleveland much.
Yeah, well, I did for, you know, Browns games and stuff like that. Like
we both went to Kent State, and then the last 2 years, like before I moved to LA, I was working in Independence, Ohio, which is pretty much Cleveland, and I, you know, lived in Stowe. So I still say I'm Cleveland just because Marietta sucks.
Well, I mean, I always tell people Cleveland because they're not going to know where the fuck East Liverpool.
I mean, I was in a west suburb.
Well, that's the thing. Like, even with, because I mean, I was born. My parents were born in East Liverpool. I was born in East Liverpool, but my dad moved around a few times for jobs, and from age 2 till age 9, we lived in Canton, North Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is and everything. And so that's how I kind of became a Browns fan and more of a Cleveland, like felt more like I was a Cleveland, like loyalties to Cleveland instead of like Pittsburgh. And we just like we didn't move back to East Liverpool till I was 9, but it was just so I guess I felt a Clevelander. Like I interned when I was at Kent State. My internship was with the Big Chuck and Little John show.
Oh, right.
At Fox 8.
I remember those guys.
And the only reason I even knew it was because when we lived in Canton, you know, we'd get Channel 8, and they would have they'd show those really awful horror movies.
Yeah.
They would have those sketches in between. And they had that crazy laugh. Yeah. Like, you know. Yeah, I even downloaded that to a ringtone for a while, like, until I got sick of it. But, I mean, so it was like, when I had to do an internship at Kent State, I was like, I remember I tracked Big Chuck Shadowski down at a BW3. He was there doing Monday Night Football.
Wow.
And I went up and I said, I'm John. I want to do comedy, and like I wasn't even doing stand up yet. I just and it was like I'm like, I want to intern on your show. He was like, all right, you're the guy.
Cool.
Just give me a call and in the summer when you're ready to start your internship, and we'll do it. And nice. So it was like I was always more of a Cleveland guy. If there's a big city that I'm claiming, it's Cleveland. So
I think Little John was an Italian guy, and my family
was a jeweler.
He was a jeweler. I knew a guy who used to work at his thing, and he actually was trying to get me a job because I used to work at the ballpark. Yeah. And like, if you need a job during the winter, you could go do this jeweler with Little John.
Yeah, well, that's what Little John was a jeweler. He owned a jewelry store called Rinaldi Jewelers.
Yeah,
because that show